navigation bar with some buttons as text on this. You can see we have a completed version which will be going to create now. So let's close this and open up a new document. As it's a navigation bar, for this we'll use a longer width, so around 1100 will be fine, and the height around 250 pixels. That's fine. So let's adjust this here and make sure you have a new layer. Let's call this navigation background, and we'll use a rounded rectangle tool. Once you have that selected, make sure you have your fill pixels checked, not your paths or your shapes. Make the radius around 10 pixels, which the radius tells the curve you would like on the four ends of this rectangle. So let's say around 10 pixels soft would be nice, and leave the mode and opacity 100 and mode to normal. Let's add navigation background here. Let's say we'll create a small one for this. Once you have that, also make sure you had your foreground set to white. It doesn't really matter since we're going to add some blending options to it. So let's center this in by staying on the same layer and pressing Ctrl A, the shortcut to select the document. Once you have that done, let's click on both the align bars here, so that align it vertical and horizontally, so that keep this in center. Let's deselect that by pressing the shortcut again, Ctrl D, and let's add some blending options to this. So opening up your blending options, double click on this side, on the side of the layer to open up the styles. So let's add some bevel to this. Let's reduce this a bit. Let's first add some gradients so we see which color we are using. I'll be using a dark gray for this, so I've already got a combination, a dark gray to a little more darker gray again. So with the bevel, let's add the depth around 11% and reduce the size way up to 3 pixels. Leave the soften up to 0 pixels, and remaining things we'll leave it as default. Let's add some outer glow for this and change the blending mode to normal. Let's add a bit of gray color for this glow. That's fine. And let's reduce the opacity a bit, around 50%. Make sure you have your elements technique set to precise, which takes the shape of your layer, or depends on whatever you have drawn on the stage. Let's increase the size a bit, somewhere around 8 pixels. Make sure your spread is set to 0%, and let's change the quality to half round, which gives you more. So since it's given a bit more stronger, let's reduce the opacity here, around 20%, which looks nice. Okay, once you have that done, let's press on OK. That's all we'll be adding. Let's zoom in here, see what we have. Okay, once you've done that, let's add a shine to this menu, or what you call navigation background. So let's create a new layer and call this shine, and let's first select this rectangle we have here by holding your control and clicking on the navigation background here, so which gives us the selection. And let's cut off, say, around the top part. So using your elliptical marquee tool, hold on your Alt key, which changes to a minus, which now if you would draw a shape, the selection, it would minus the selection you already have. So we'll be minusing a top part here. Make sure your feather is set to 0 pixels. Let's minus something around here. So we'll have a shine in the bottom here. Let's fill this with white. So with your foreground set to white, let's use the shortcut key Alt backspace. Once you have that filled, let's deselect that by just using the same marquee tool, clicking anywhere on the stage. Let's go back to our selection tool. Let's reduce the opacity of this shine so that it doesn't look really bright. Let's reduce the opacity way up to somewhere around 5%, which you can see it looks something more neat. And now let's add some text on this navigation. Let's add, I'll be using Century Gothic for this phone, so let's first type home, which will be our first button, and I'll be using bold with 20 points, smooth white color. Let's adjust this somewhere around here. I'll add 3 buttons for this since it's a small navigation, and let's duplicate this by using your Alt key, and you can see your arrow turns into double, which duplicates it, or you could right click duplicate since we'll use another way. So let's try the Alt key and drag it straight here, and one more straight at the end. Once you have that, let's adjust this a bit here. Okay, once you have that done, let's type in the names here. For example, let's call this about, control click to accept that, and let's change this to contact, control click again to accept that. Once you have done that, let's align these 3 buttons here in the center and according to their places with respect to the background of this navigation. Let's select all these 3 texts by clicking on the top text layer and using a shift key, click on the home. So you have all these selected, and with the control click on your navigation so that you select this. Since we don't want to align these buttons with the whole document, we just needed to align with this. With these aligning tools here, options here, let's align this vertically, and let's align this around, distribute it horizontally. Once you have that, it's perfectly aligned. So let's deselect that by pressing Ctrl D, and let's add some separations for this since we don't know really where the button is ending, and we know where it starts for the first and ends for the last, but we don't know anything about the about. So let's add a new layer here up and call this bars, and now using the shape tool line, let's use the line tool and make sure you still have your fills selected. Let's keep the foreground set to white. Let's draw in here a straight line which shows in a separation. Once you have that line here, let's use the Alt key, or let's duplicate this again using another way. Let's drag this straight somewhere around here. Let's align both of them with the navigation background. Control click on both the bars and control click on the navigation background. Let's align this straight in the center. Let's deselect that, Control D. Once you have that, let's add some effects to this texts and the bars here. So let's first edit the home, and we'll add some glow here. Let's add a light gray. Let's reduce the opacity. Let's change the blending mode to normal, and I think the size and the spread is fine. Let's change the quality here, something to look nice. I think rounded steps is okay. Let's press on OK. Once that's done, let's add the same blending options to both of the layers. You could hold down Alt key and drag and release them on this. Since we have done that in previous tutorials, let's try another way, which is right click, copy layer style, and control click on both your layers, and then right click on this layer, any of the layers here, and click on paste style, which pastes it to both the layers you just selected. Let's close this list here, and let's add the same effect to both the bars here. Let's merge these bars together. Shift or control click on both the bars, and using the shortcut key Control E, let's merge them together. Now let's paste, since we already copied the layer style, let's paste it on the bars. Since it looks a bit better, let's make this a bit different. So let's reduce this opacity a bit, somewhere around 20 to 30%. Okay, once you've done that, let's open up the navigation's blending options again, and let's change back the contour quality back to how it was in default. Let's reduce this glow a bit, opacity here. I think that's it. So that's how we create a navigation. There are many different ways to create. I'll teach them further on in later tutorials. So I hope you learned something from this, and thanks for watching.